They didn't change for her, they just got better at hiding what you already survived. You're scrolling through their new relationship like it's evidence in a trial you're losing. Every photo feels like a verdict. Maybe you were the problem after all. Maybe they're different now because you're not there. That thought sits in your chest at 2 in the morning, heavier than anything they ever said to you directly. But here's what your brain is doing right now and why it's the exact opposite of the truth. You're experiencing what psychologists call the fundamental attribution error, where you attribute their current behavior to internal change rather than external performance. I watched someone close to me, let's call her Maya, spend 7 months analyzing her ex's Instagram stories like they were scripture. He was suddenly posting about therapy, about growth, about emotional availability. With her, he couldn't even name a single feeling. Now he's writing captions about vulnerability with the new girlfriend tagged front and center. Maya told me she felt like she'd been the dress rehearsal for someone else's opening night. Like all her pain had been his training ground, and now someone else gets the finished product. That cognitive distortion has a name too, the just world hypothesis. So if they're happy now, you must have caused their misery then. Your brain is trying to make sense of senseless behavior by blaming the one variable that changed. You, but narcissistic personality pathology doesn't work that way. A 2015 study in the Journal of Personality Disorders tracked individuals with narcissistic traits across multiple relationships over 8 years. The researchers found that while their tactics evolved, their core patterns remained identical. They didn't change partners because they changed. They changed partners because the old supply stopped working. You stopped believing the performance, so they needed a new audience. Here's the specific psychological calculus happening in their brain when they select new supply. They're not choosing someone better than you. They're choosing someone differently vulnerable. You developed antibodies to their manipulation. You started noticing the love bombing always preceded a request. You started seeing the pattern where your achievements threatened them. You started calling out the silent treatment for what it was, punishment, so they don't need to change themselves. They just need to change the variables. Find someone at a different life stage with different triggers who hasn't built your specific defenses yet. It's not an upgrade. What you're calling their transformation is actually called impression management, and narcissists are exceptional at it during the idealization phase. They're performing the exact behaviors they learned you wanted but they refused to give. Why? Because with you they already had supply secured. They didn't need to perform anymore. The mask could come off, but with new supply, the mask is the entire point. Dr. Ramani Durvasula's research on narcissistic relationships identifies this as the optimization phase, where they take everything they learned from dismantling you and apply it to appearing perfect for someone else. Think about it this way, you gave them a complete diagnostic report of what destroyed you. Every fight, every tearful conversation where you explained exactly what you needed, you were essentially handing them a manual titled How to Fool the Next Person. They're not going to the gym and posting about it because they suddenly value health. They're doing it because you once said you felt neglected when they stopped trying. They're not suddenly emotionally available. They're mirroring emotional availability until it stops serving them. Maya told me the turning point came when she saw him post about a couple's cooking class. They used to fight because he refused to do anything she suggested. She'd beg him to try new experiences together. He'd call her controlling. Now he's photographed in a matching apron grinning with this new woman doing the exact activity Maya suggested 14 months earlier. Her first thought was, I wasn't worth the effort. Her second thought, the one that changed everything, he's performing effort, not feeling it. There's a difference. Effort that comes from genuine change is consistent and private. Here's the mechanism you need to understand. Narcissistic supply isn't about the person providing it. It's about the function they serve. You were supply when you believed their grandiose self-image. You stopped being supply when you witnessed their fragility and refused to pretend it didn't exist. They don't miss you. They miss who they got to be when you still believed the character they were playing. The new partner isn't better. She just hasn't seen backstage yet. She doesn't know the lines are rehearsed. You want to know what they're actually doing differently with her. They're managing timelines more carefully. With you, they love bombed for maybe 6 weeks before the cracks showed. Now they know to extend that phase to 4, maybe 5 months, long enough for her to develop attachment before the devaluation starts. They're keeping fights private instead of public, not because they're less volatile, but because they learned you documented everything, and that became evidence they couldn't deny. They're varying their manipulation tactics. The version of them you're seeing isn't proof of change. It's proof they found someone who doesn't know the playbook yet. The upgrade you think you're witnessing is actually a strategic pivot based on loss analysis. They're asking themselves, what made this supply source dry up? What made her stop reacting? Then they reverse engineer the failure. If you left because they forgot your birthday 3 years running, they're setting calendar reminders for the new girlfriend's birthday. Not because they care more about her. Because they've identified birthday acknowledgement as critical infrastructure for maintaining supply flow. If you left because they never posted about you, now their entire feed is couple photos. But here's the part that breaks the spell completely. The part nobody tells you because it sounds too good to be true. It's not. Every single adaptation they're performing for new supply makes them more exhausted, not less. Authenticity is effortless, performance is depleting. Dr. Craig Malkin's research on pathological narcissism shows that the energy required to maintain false intimacy compounds over time. Those therapy posts, they drain them because they're performing insight they don't feel. Those vulnerability captions, each one costs them a piece of the grandiose self-image they're actually protecting. What you're interpreting as them thriving is actually them performing harder, which means they'll collapse faster. The timeline has accelerated. You survived 3 years before the mask fully disintegrated. She'll probably get 18 months, maybe 2 years at most, before the same patterns resurface. Because he can't maintain therapy speak forever without actually doing therapy. She can't post about emotional growth indefinitely without emotional capacity. The cognitive load of pretending to be someone you're not eventually exceeds the narcissistic supply gained from the performance. That's when the cracks reappear. Maya stopped checking his social media the day she realized something specific. She was giving him rent-free real estate in her head while he wasn't thinking about her at all. Not because he'd moved on to something better, but because narcissists don't have the emotional object permanence required to miss people. You exist when you're useful. You disappear when you're not. That's not personal, that's pathology. The moment she understood that his new relationship wasn't evidence of her inadequacy, but evidence of his consistency, she felt something shift. Not relief, not closure, nothing that clean, just clarity. The person you're mourning never existed. You're grieving a performance, not a person. The version of them that made you feel seen and chosen and special was always a calculated mirror designed to reflect what you needed most. That's why it felt so intense, so perfect, so once in a lifetime. Because it was custom-built using your own words, your own dreams, your own vulnerabilities as the blueprint. They didn't love you, they studied you. And when you stopped being a reliable source of the admiration they required, they didn't fix the relationship. They commissioned a new mirror. If Maya could go back and tell herself one thing during those 7 months of obsessive comparison, it would be this. His capacity to appear different with someone else isn't proof you were defective. It's proof you became immune. You built antibodies. You started seeing through the performance. And the only way he could continue getting supply was to find someone without your immunity. Someone who hadn't learned to spot the inconsistencies between his words and actions. Someone who didn't know that his version of accountability was just a longer, more articulate blame shift. You didn't lose him to someone better. Stop searching their social media for evidence of your inadequacy. You won't find it there. What you'll find is a carefully curated highlight reel designed to perform exactly what it's performing on you right now, doubt. They know you're watching, that's part of the supply too. Your pain, your comparison, your late-night spiral, it all feeds the narrative that they're the prize and you're the loss. But you're not watching someone thrive, you're watching someone rehearse. And rehearsals always look better than opening night. Because opening night is when the other person starts asking why the lines sound memorized. The question isn't why they changed for someone else. The question is why you're still letting someone who couldn't value you determine your value now. Their new relationship status doesn't rewrite your history. It doesn't mean the abuse wasn't real or the pain wasn't valid or your needs weren't legitimate. It means they're very good at what they've always been good at, finding someone who doesn't know them yet. You know them, that's not a weakness. That's the only advantage that actually matters. You see the performance for what it is now. She's still buying tickets. Let her. Narcissists don't change, they refine, they adapt. They optimize for new supply using everything the old supply taught them about their own weaknesses. That's not growth, that's strategy. And strategy without empathy, without accountability, without the capacity for genuine intimacy always has the same ending, just different actors. You're not watching them become the person you needed. You're watching them perform the role someone else needs right now until she stops needing it or starts seeing through it. Then the cycle repeats. You already survived the real them. You deserved the truth from the beginning, not the performance they're giving someone else now. If this video resonated with you, hit subscribe. Uncomfortable Truths releases new videos every day on personal finance, relationships, mindset, and productivity, and more. Turn on notifications so you never miss one. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's always worth it.